In the attic, hidden beneath a dusty trunk, they found it, the black magic quilt. Its dark fabric seemed to pulse with an ominous energy. She discovered intricate symbols stitched into the fabric, symbols she recognized from ancient books of dark magic. One evening, as she worked late into the night, the quilt seemed to come alive, the symbols glowing faintly. A cold, ghastly whisper filled the room. "Release us!" Isabella began to scream as she heard the voice. Thomas began to grow weaker, and his behavior became cold and aggressive. He would have repeated nightmares and quickly began losing his strength. In a climactic moment, a dark figure emerged from the quilt. Ilara herself, her eyes burning with rage. Isabella stood her ground, repeating the incantation with all her might. Ilara screamed, "You dare defy me?" Her form dissolving into the shadows. With a final burst of light, the quilt fell silent. But the battle was not yet over. The curse had been weakened but not destroyed. With the quilt's dark power weakened but still lingering, Isabella and Thomas knew their battle was far from over. The village of Ravenscroft was still under the shadow of the black magic quilt, and the souls trapped within remained unrestful. Isabella, with her raven black hair now streaked with silver from the strain, was more determined more than ever. Thomas, although still recovering, stood by her side, his kind eyes filled with resolve. Together, they sought Agatha's guidance once more. Agatha revealed that to fully destroy the quilt's curse, they needed to perform a final perilous ritual. This ritual required 3 sacred items, each representing a different aspect of life. A heart-shaped locket symbolizing love, a vial of water from the village's ancient well symbolizing purity, and a sprig of yew from the oldest tree in the forest symbolizing death and rebirth. Isabella and Thomas set out on their quest, facing numerous trials along the way. First, they visited the village's oldest resident, an elderly man named Amon, who possessed the heart-shaped locket. Amon, with frail frame and wise eyes, agreed to part with the locket, but warned them of the dangers ahead. Next, they ventured into the ancient well, nestled deep within the forest. The well was said to be guarded by a spirit, and only those with pure intentions could draw from the well. As they approached, a spectral figure appeared, testing their resolve. With heartfelt pleas and a show of their pure love, they gained the spirit's trust and secured the veil of water. The final item, a sprig of yew, proved to be the most challenging. The oldest tree in the forest was protected by a malevolent spirit, a remnant of Ilara's dark magic. As they neared the tree, the spirit attacked, its form shifting and twisting with malice. Thomas, although still weakened, fought bravely, buying Isabella time to retrieve the sprig. With the 3 sacred items in hand, they returned to the mansion's attic, where Agatha awaited them. The atmosphere was charged with tension as they prepared for the final ritual. The quilt lay in the center of the room, its dark energy pulsating ominously. As Isabella began the incantation, the room grew cold and shadows deepened. The 3 sacred items glowed, resonating with her words. The quilt right and twisted, dark veins reaching out. A fierce wind howled through the attic as the spirits within the quilt wailed in anguish. In a climactic moment, Ilara's dark figure emerged once more. "How dare you return?" Her eyes blazing with fury. Isabella, with unwavering determination, continued the incantation. The locket, the veil, and the yew sprig combined their energies, creating a blinding light that engulfed the quilt. Ilara's scream echoed through the attic as her form dissolved into the light. The quilt's dark energy was finally vanquished, its curse lifted. The spirits trapped within were freed, their anguished cries turning to sighs of relief and gratitude. As the light faded, the attic returned to a serene stillness. The quilt lay lifeless and in shreds, its dark magic gone. Isabella and Thomas exhausted but triumphant. They embraced each other. Isabella looked into Thomas's eyes and asked, "How are you feeling, my love?" Thomas responded, "I feel myself again. I am so happy this is over." "I love you," said Isabella. Thomas smiled and gently he replied, "I love you more." The village of Ravenscroft was finally free from the shadow of the black magic quilt. With Ilara gone, Isabella reconstructed the quilt, its once dark patterns now glowing with a radiant light. The quilt had been transformed into a beacon of hope, love, and protection for her and Thomas and the entire town. The villagers gathered to celebrate, honoring Isabella and Thomas's bravery and the quilt's new purpose. Thomas and Isabella sought to know why Ilara placed a curse on the quilt. Consequently, they made a visit to Agatha's home once again. Agatha explained, legend has it, that Ilara was once a quilter in learning, and her quilts were often made fun of and ridiculed by other more experienced quilters who felt she had no place in joining their quilting bee. Ilara became depressed and withdrawn, and so one day she worked long and hard, spent her last pennies to buy the best fabric she could afford so she could make the best quilt, hoping this will make her acceptable to the other quilters. She used a pattern from the finest quilter in town, known as Agnes. On the day of the quilt display, Agnes was not impressed and felt disrespected that a beginner would dare to try to make her quilt pattern. She publicly embarrassed her and ridiculed her quilt while the others watched and laughed. Ilara was devastated, and in that moment she became cold and vicious. What no one knew is that Ilara's grandmother was a witch. And for this reason, with tears and resentment, she went home and conjured a spell which was placed on Agnes and the town and those who shamed her. She placed a curse on the same quilt, the black magic quilt. This is the quilt that was displayed. Isabella and Thomas felt truly sad to learn of Ilara's heartache. After leaving Agatha's home, they concluded that it's imperative to change the negative narrative of quilting in the town, and so they opened their first quilting store that imparted what it truly means to be a quilter. Within the store, there was a beautiful patchwork story quilt that reads, "It is not just about the best fabric, but quilting is the art of possessing self-discipline, patience, kindness, love, and commitment. Quilters must have tremendous love and respect for each other's work. We are reminded to give praises and encouragement without criticism, as quilting is each individual's journey, and to honor this principle." As the years passed, many in the town became quilters and grew to love the craft, as it was no longer shrouded in negativity. Isabella, now a well-regarded figure in Ravenswood, continued to protect and guide her village, her magical ancestry a source of pride and strength. The quilting store now stands as a beacon of peace and love for quilting. The story of the Black Magic Quilt teaches us that supporting each other is far more important than a harsh word that leaves us empty and hurt, which destroys passion and creativity. Words of encouragement is collectively rewarding to us all. And so, the Black Magic Quilt, once a vessel of curses, became a cherished artifact of hope, forever stitched into the fabric of Ravenswood's history. Thank you for listening to Quilting Stories. I hope that this story resonates with you. Do like and subscribe for more. Share your feedback with me down below. Bye for now. Happy quilting, and I promise to see you in the next one. Bye guys.